directed by Gavin O'Connor and starring Ben Affleck, Janina Gavin Carr, and Michaela Watkins. The story of The Way Back follows Jack Cunningham, a construction worker who's also a self-destructive alcoholic. When he gets called by his high school alma mater to coach their flailing basketball team, he reluctantly accepts the job. So the first thing I want to say about this movie is that it's not a sports movie. When you watch the trailer for this, it looks like it's a standard sports movie, and I think people might actually be fooled that it's a sports movie because it's directed by Gavin O'Connor, who directed Miracle and Warrior, both of which are really good sports movies, genuine sports movies. This film, though, is not a sports movie. It's really a look at a man who is suffering with alcoholism. We're just sort of exploring his life, and the sports element of the movie is really secondary. In fact, I think that's my biggest criticism of the movie overall, is the fact that it's not a sports movie, but it kind of gives you a Cliff Notes version of a sports movie. You know, all the character tropes from the team are there, all the standard problems are there for a sports team. You know, they haven't won in like 20 years. There's like one really talented player and the rest of the team just needs leadership to get them going. And, you know, they don't have very many players on the team, so everybody has to step up and prove what they got. Like, it's all the standard stuff we see, but it's in such a small amount of the movie. The sports element is there really just to highlight how badly Ben Affleck is doing in his life.
My father didn't like me very much, and someone told him I was good at basketball. He paid a lot more attention to me. And I realized it wasn't me that he loved. It was what I could do. I spent a lot of time hurting myself, trying to hurt my father. I never picked up a basketball again.
So this is an addiction movie, and like all addiction movies, it's really just an exploration of somebody self-destructing, you know, making worse and worse decisions until something really bad happens, and then they have to try to pull their way out of this really bad situation. And it's a really honest depiction of what it looks like, you know, to sort of hurt yourself in that way. You know, it's just a guy trying to run away from something, and the thing he's running away from is in his head, and so the only way he can do it is with alcohol. And you know, just watching this guy go to work, go home, get completely plastered, pass out, get up and do it again, day after day after day, is really sad. I mean, you know, you can't talk about this without talking about the reality, which is Ben Affleck, who's the star of this movie, who does all these scenes dealing with alcoholism, is himself in real life dealing with alcoholism. And this movie was actually almost shut down because he had to go back into rehab halfway through production. It's both really an honest portrayal of the situation. It's also kind of sad because you're watching it, and if you know the reality, you kind of question, like, how close is this to reality? Like, you know, what's going on here? And with that, we just got to talk about Ben Affleck, because Ben Affleck's performance is really good in this film. He is phenomenal as this character, this really broken character who's just trying to you know, cope, and he just doesn't know how. He's trying to deal with his life, and it's just he just doesn't have a good way of doing it. And he's isolated himself, and the only thing he has is his routine, his self-destructive little routine. And Ben Affleck does such a good job of portraying the desperation and the isolation and the frustration. You know, he is so vulnerable and so charming. Like, he does a really good job of pretending that everything's okay. You know, you can see everybody in his life is worried about him, but it's that other problem of what do you do about it? You know, I think that's why this movie really works on a lot of levels, because if you're the person in the audience who's been through what Ben Affleck's feeling or been going through of drinking too much and not knowing how to deal with things, you can resonate with that. You can understand that. If you're somebody who's on the other side of the fence who watched somebody self-destruct like that, it's, you know, you really empathize with the person, and it's really sad, and you empathize with the people who's trying to help him, who just don't know what to do, because what do you do? I think as an addiction movie, it's successful, and I think a big reason it's successful is because Ben Affleck just brought so much authenticity to this role.
Coach Dan, how many threes did Marcus make last year?
Made 34.
Out of how many attempts?
Out of 130.
26%, Marcus. You want to know why they're leaving you open? It's because they don't think you could hit the ocean from the beach.
I also need to call out Janina Gavin Carr, because her performance is really solid. She has these really heartfelt scenes, and you know, it's a really good way of depicting communication and miscommunication between people. You know, Ben Affleck is kind of lying and deflecting, and she's trying to help him and get the truth, and it's not coming out, and she gets frustrated. And there's just a lot of really subtle conversational interplay, and she has these really striking, beautiful eyes. You know, her eye acting is really powerful. The way she looks at Ben Affleck or doesn't look at him when she's saying something. It's really well thought out. Or I don't even know if it's thought out, but it feels really honest. With all that being said, my final score for The Way Back is going to be a 7 out of 10. So I ended up liking this movie. I don't love it, but I like it. I think it's well made. I think it tells a story competently well. But I think the thing that really saves the movie and makes it way better than it otherwise might be is Ben Affleck's performance. The honesty he brings to the part, the authenticity of it, and just the heartfelt, my heart breaks watching this guy, destroy himself. It's awful. And I think that elevates the movie a lot. Do I think people are going to want to go flock to the theater and see this one? I don't think so. I think people would prefer to watch this kind of movie at home on the couch. I know I would. I do recommend seeing it, but this doesn't feel like, the Avengers are like, you don't need to go see this one in theater. I think you could pretty safely skip this one for now, but check it out later. Thank you guys so much for watching my review of The Way Back. If you enjoyed the content, please do all that standard YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. You know how it goes. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, have a good one.